Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to install a dash cam in a Ford F250. This will work pretty much for any car really, or any vehicle. The process is pretty much universal. So you get the camera, you get a special adapter kit so you can tap into one of the fuses in your fuse panel, and then you run the wires in the body panels, the interior covers and such, and the headliner of the vehicle. I chose this particular brand because it had a lot of reviews on Amazon. In fact, I'll have links to the dash cam, which is like a Pruvio or something like that, F5. They make a few different models, but it had a lot of like 900 views and mostly positive. So that's one of the reasons why I chose it. So like I said, I'll have a link to that, the adapter that it does not come with, and then some memory cards. You don't need a lot of tools for this. A multimeter is kind of necessary to be able to check the fuses that are live when the car's off, or which ones are live when the car's off and which ones are live when the car's on. A few other basic tools. Windex, you got to clean the inside of the window to stick the camera on, and then a few extra fuses. It does not come with fuses, oddly enough. I was originally going to use a 5 amp fuse, but I ended up using a 7.5 amp fuse just because I dropped the 5 amp fuse and I couldn't find it, so whatever. It shouldn't draw too much power. I believe the thing draws less than 3 amps, or right around 3 amps. Alright, so this is the Pruvio dash cam. It's not huge. Here's the wire kit right here. This will allow you to adapt into a fuse location. And that's it. So the dash cam comes in like 2 pieces. This is the camera itself, and then you have this area is supposed to hide the cables. They get plugged in the back. Now, I'm not going to worry about this. Some people may want to use this to help it tuck in. Now, there's 2 plastic pieces here with 2 of these 3M double sticky strip tabs. So one gets slipped into one, the other one gets slipped on the other side right here, and then this like goes here, that one goes there, and they actually don't connect together really. Like they stick on the window next to each other. There's nothing like connecting them together. So for me, I'm just going to use this side, and this sticky side, I'm not going to worry about this part right here. So that's up to your choice. And then, so now I'm going to figure out a location for it. So now the wiring kit has basically 2 ends. This is the side you plug into the camera. So it has the mini USB plug, not the micro, which is like standard on Android phones. But the mini, this is more standard for cameras and such. Here's the 2 adapters for the various fuse locations, fuse types. Looks like both of these are for the. This one's for the mini blades, and this is for the regular one. And then this is the side that you would attach. This would be connected to here, and this is a ground. So I'm going to first run the wire before I attach the camera, just so that it's not in the way while I'm doing it, and I'm going to leave plenty of room. So I'm going to tuck this in along the headliner like I showed earlier. Now to remove this bottom panel, you just simply pull out, and it locks down at the bottom. It gives you access to the fuse panel. It gives you a little bit more access for running wires and such as well. Because the wiring harness has this thing, you have to feed the end first. So what I did is just went up underneath the dash, peeled back on the window, or the door weather stripping here a little bit, and you can actually reveal. So it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. Let you reach up underneath the dash, just kind of feel your way through, and then you push out this thing out through. So this is all the way up, and then I'm able to pull this down just enough where I was able to feed it through, and it comes out over here, and then you tuck it up underneath the lip of the headliner here, all the way over. Alright, so the wire's tucked in. I just tucked the excess up underneath here. If you want, you can tape a little bit if that's a problem. And it's really hot, so on a hot day, not as much fun. So now the wires run. This was just hanging loose, and when I pull this back, the wire is going to hang out. So I just kind of started tucking it up as I was running it, just because that was just the easiest way. So it's not really secured in there. You can tape it and all that stuff. Now here, this is down on the loose side right here. Eventually I'll shorten this all up, zip tie it out of place, out of the way. Now we're gonna have to add on this end here, so we're gonna have to crimp on one of these ends. So what you'll do is you'll just simply stick that in and crimp it, and then we'll find a location here on the fuse box that we can add it into. Alright, I took off a little bit more of the insulation, stripped it off just a little bit because there's only a tiny nib of bare metal, and then just crimped the end, so that's in there. You can pull it, you can't pull it out. Crimping is actually a better method for automotive, I've heard, because it doesn't crack like soldering would from vibration. So take that however you like, but this is the end to use for the F250. If you're using a different vehicle, you might try to see which type of fuse you have. Maybe use this adapter versus that adapter. So this is the fuse box that I'm planning on tapping into. The way I'm going to run it, I'm going to run the negative or the ground wire under here. I'm going to screw it into this screw right here. I'm just going to try. So with this end, it just seems like it's convenient. I think this is a grounding location. It looks clean, so I think overall this is going to be a good spot to ground it. If not, I'll have to move it, and then I have to figure out which fuse here would be a good candidate to tap into. So now, well, the criterias are, it has to be off when the car's off, but it has to be on when the truck is on. For instance, the horn won't work. The fuse is missing anyways because it keeps blowing, because that's on all the time, which means the camera will never turn off. I don't want to tap into anything that's super critical, like any kind of ignition system or fuel system, anything like that, just because I'm a little paranoid, and so I'd rather do a different fuse than that. So we're going to have to get a fuse diagram, check it out, and at the same time use a trusty multimeter. I'm going to turn on the car and check various fuse locations for power. First I'm going to check them without power, and then check them with power and see which ones are live all the time. Those ones I know are not candidates, and then I'll check and see which ones come on with the ignition. Alright, so most of these are live while the ignition's off. Looks like this strip over here is not. I've settled on, I think I'm going to go with number 29 here. This is fuse number 29, customer access. I don't know what that means, honestly. I might look at another one of these real quick, but these ones look like all these are off while the ignition's off. And then so I want to tap onto here. I'm thinking I want to tap into one, and I'll just cut the side of the cover off to allow access to this thing, but I don't want to do it right here where this clip is, so I might go down and check another couple of these. I'm going to post a link to a fuse relay here, where I'll show one fuse diagram in a couple seconds. But in the meantime, you can see I pulled the ground wire up here, connected it here. This is a good ground. I know because I can check it, the fuses, with my multimeter. So I'm touching the negative terminal here. I'm touching one of the fuse little testing spots with the positive side of the multimeter, and just checking to see if I have 12 volts or whatever it is. If I have 11.5 volts or 12 volts. So it's 12 volts when the battery, and then it should be like 13 or so when the truck's running, or the key's in the ignition on position. Okay, here's the final install. I have to use fuse location number 33, which is like the wipers and 4x4. I figured I could probably live without those in like for a minute, and then pull this out and swap the fuses around and get the right fuse in there. I ended up cutting a little notch in the cover so that it'll fit when I put it on, which I can't do with one hand, so I'm not going to do it right now. Alright, this is where I ended up mounting the camera. One of the reasons I chose here is this wouldn't be I can reach it without having to move the rear view mirror. I do have a wicked crack right here, and I had putting it above And then one thing I am noticing is that the double-sided tape that comes with the camera is not holding in the heat. So I'm trying a few different types right now. When I settle on one, I'll put it in the description so that you can see what I used as far as being able to stick this thing onto the windshield and not falling off when it's hot out. When it comes on, you can see the screen actually comes on automatically. You can turn that off just by hitting this button right here, and you can see that this light will still blink, meaning it's recording even when the power is off. I don't know too much other than controls, other than I think if you hit the center button, it's supposed to save that video so that it will be used later. If you want to turn the screen back on, you just hit the button again. It comes back on. You can kind of see what's going on there, and then back off. The memory card slot is on the side right here. Alright, now I'm going to show you some sample video. So that's pretty much it. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. Please check out some of my other videos about photography and such. If you like it, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Any constructive criticism, please leave them in the comments. Any questions, I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. And thank you very much.